latest one, 2022.
All right, Fausto.
And then here's the 2018 right behind us, the lecture, and Iron Man. If you want your shirt
Can you
off,
hear?
there you-
Is there an echo
Oil, right?
Yeah.
at all?
For these oils, but
Let me know.
some of them were acrylic and airbrush and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can hear it all right? It's clear?
Professor X is,
They look even
there's
better.
no echo.
But you can hear.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, we're going to do a couple more mic checks. So, Simone, will you just
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
tell me how pretty I am real quick?
So pretty.
Can y'all hear Simone?
Hey,
Okay, good. And then for this mic, it doesn't have to be right here. It's kind
No,
of
the way you're doing it is perfect.
perfect. Okay. So, everybody, we're ready?
I'm good.
Hey everybody, we are OAX. We are live, and we've got two legends with us. This is Original Art Expo. I want to say con, but it's Expo. OAX. And, Expo means extraordinary, right? And that's what we have here. We have two extraordinary Marvel card original art artists. And I got to do an introduction because it's like what you're supposed to do. But in this room, and I imagine with our audience, you guys need no introduction. We have Simone Bianchi.
thank you.
The-
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Simone, the artist for 2018 Marvel Masterpieces. How long ago does that seem now?
What is that?
How long ago does that seem now?
How long? What? I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
didn't get it.
Does it feel like a long time?
Oh, since
Yeah.
2018. Yes. I mean, we had a pandemic in
Yeah.
between, so
It feels like,
that felt pretty.
when you put it in
long.
that perspective, it does feel like a long time.
But my perception of time changed dramatically since I became dead. So since then, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I turned 50 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, it felt to me like I was celebrating my 40th birthday, like the day before.
Wow.
So it's all about perception, and but I have to give credit to my own dad, who always says, "Wait and to have your own kids to realize how fast time can feel."
Mm-hmm.
You feel the. And that really changed a lot since I was my kid. So 2018, it's 6 years now. I mean, again, jokes aside, the pandemic really slowed down a lot of
Yeah.
this perception. But then right after the pandemic, we all got back into like full-time working, and there's no weekends, there's no day off.
There's not.
Yeah. So and time just got back flying at the speed of light again.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
It's on dad to
yeah,
Yeah,
that,
it's
that,
better.
that does have an
It's
impact.
better.
And then Dan Dos Santos, the artist for 2023 Marvel Masterpieces. And, Dan, I know for you, it probably feels like a while ago, but it's hit fast,
It
didn't
feels
it?
like a while ago. It feels like that was a lot of time actually, since like when I started it was so
Yeah.
long ago, wasn't that like?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's weirdly still fresh and feels old at the same time.
Yeah. We're going to take questions from the audience and from the live stream, so feel free to get your questions in. But
We used to do the whole set.
Painting wise, it was just like a year and a half.
Yeah.
But
pretty
then
much.
like the fallout of it, the like scanning all the work, dealing with like
Oh,
revisions,
that's why I have my
putting on
sister
a
doing
show.
all this.
135 paintings takes a year. It takes a whole year.
Yeah, so the question-
You've been fast.
right, so the question was how long did it take him to
Yeah,
paint? He
I'm
said a
so-
year and a half.
So the job, it's
And-
hard to say how long the job took.
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
It's still a
Yeah.
job,
No, it took 14 months, 15 to me,
Yeah.
but I was half kidding because my sister Gloria, who's working with me for the past 20 years, she's like also a studio manager,
Yeah.
so I don't have to go through scanning and paperwork, and
Yeah.
and that gives me a lot of more time to focus on my artwork. Yeah.
All right, so I see something happening here, and it actually was going to be my first question, is there's a unique brotherhood that that I see existing in.
Gauntlet. That job is a gauntlet.
I mean,
A gauntlet?
it's it's a tight fraternity. There's not been a lot of artists who can say that they were the original card art artists for Masterpieces to begin with. But what is it like to be in that brotherhood, in that fraternity?
To be completely honest with you, the only one that I met in person is Dan.
Oh.
From yesterday, actually in person.
Wow, first time.
And Joe. I met Joe at my exhibition in Metropolis in New York. And so I never met the other guys. But like like we're all colleagues. It doesn't make a big difference to me whether it's comic books or sketch. It's all about the brotherhood. To me feels like it feels like belonging to an artist community. You know, like it doesn't matter whether it's comic book, video games, character design. I mean, we all, I think, unite with the passion that are moving us.
Yeah. Well, so same question to you.
Yeah, I think truly that job is hard. Not many people have done it. Fewer people have done it single-handedly. So
Yes.
you've done it single-handedly. Joe's done it single-handedly. Dave, myself. Is that it? Anybody I'm blanking? Like that's
No,
not the
everybody else is either paired or in a group
it's the
or.
hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Job-wise, have you done comics? Though, see, I feel like comic guys are used to that. It's
That's a good point. Like, yeah, I was saying before we went live, I really had to give it up about doing interior comic book art on a regular basis because it really was draining all my energies out
Yeah.
of me, and I did that for basically 14 years in a row. But yeah, I mean, the Marvel Masterpiece, it was just as draining in a good sense, of course. Let's say being able to hit deadline on a comic book publisher,
Yeah.
he helped me a lot to hit my own deadline with
Masterpiece.
Upper Deck. Yeah.
Yeah.
it
So
was so hard for me. What you call like this camaraderie, it's more like trauma bond.
Trauma
I
bond.
talked to Joe about it, but that job really did almost kill me. I think
So-
I had a hard time with
are you
it.
saying that while you were in the midst of the trauma, to use your word, was it that bond with the other artists that really helped you get through
I
it?
talked to Joe a lot through it, like, and I held his advice in high esteem. And Dave, I was able to pick his brain too. So yeah,
Yeah.
like I know who to listen to.
So who's calling you now for the trauma bond?
Yeah, I don't know. No idea.
That was for the audience, not you.
You don't know the next.
All right, we've got a guest in the ceiling. That was interesting.
Confetti.
Confetti?
So let's talk about the job hazards that you have. No, I'm just kidding. When you get to,
Just asbestos.
right, that's it. When you get to come to an expo, first of all, this is the inaugural Original Art Expo, which I think is really important, and for the fact that Marvel cards is really being served and put on the kind of the same pedestal as comic book original
Yeah.
art at this expo. And I've seen the energy around it this morning, which has been really incredible. But my question to you is, where do you see kind of the original art for Marvel cards in comparison to, say, comic book published art, and then how does that look to you in the future?
You want to go first?
I think the difference is its scope a little bit. I think the card community, even it's a little more focused in
Yeah.
its interest. So like even though maybe the amount of money being spent in that community is equally large, it's on a more focused audience. I think a lot of comic art appeal is it's you've got the whole world loves
Yeah.
like a Wolverine cover, so like the competition is a different kind of thing, and who you're appealing to is different. It's less of a community, I think, maybe, than this. But
It's hard for me to answer the question because, as a lot of my friends here know, the only time that I have the chance to talk with you guys, interact with you, is when I'm here. Because, as you know too, we don't have any company in Italy doing this with an Italian version.
Right.
And I'm
What a
actually,
shame.
yes, and I'm actually trying to talk to somebody doing that. And so I don't have the perception of what kind of, reaction or, my work has, unless I'm here.
Got you.
Whereas the comic book, of course, we have Panini, so all my work has been published for the past 20 years in Italy as well. So my perception is much more real, And so it's really hard for me. Danny is right. Like, this community is maybe a little smaller, but as much as passionate and
More intense.
yeah, more intense. Like I can see a real love, not only for the hobby of collecting the cards, but for artwork, for our original artwork, which is very satisfying. Of course, it's gratifying. That's
Yeah,
that a word?
it's a great
I
word.
don't know, it's a gratification for us.
Yeah.
But again, you know this. I get to know you, interact with you guys when I'm here. Because in Italy, unfortunately, but we definitely need to make,
You should do that.
yes,
You should
this
do that.
thing work out. Because I think, I mean, they're gonna be just the same passion, if not more. We're talking
Yeah.
after.
I would imagine a few of us want to get to Italy. That's,
What is that?
I said, I imagine a few of us would like to get out to Italy. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
Yeah, you
Well-
should.
Well, let me do this. Let me get a question. Do we have any questions from the audience that would like to ask anything from DeSantos or Simone?
So, questions for mostly for Dan, but also for you, Simone. You know, you both come from different backgrounds. Around that you do comic books and other things. You do covers for like fantasy novels and Magic the Gathering, and you know you both shared doing the Marvel masterpieces and getting involved in the community. You just talked about. You had mentioned it's very intense and like you're focused and passionate about it all. You gotten involved in like collecting the cards yourself, and it's for us it's like exciting too because like the artist is like sharing it with us and valuing the cards. I mean, how has that experience been for you as far as like a collector on the other side of it on your own art? I mean, it must be kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Great
interesting.
question.
It's very full circle because the cards are one of the reasons I wanted to get into my illustration work.
Yeah.
I liked comics, and the art. It was always about both communities. I think the segue is that the art is really what holds it together. You can't be a fan of comics and not be a fan of the art. And you can't be a fan of the Marvel masterpiece set and not be a fan of the art. There's some other trick, like if you're doing sports cards or something, it's a little different kind of appeal. But that art is so important, and to me, like having like Jim Lee and stuff and those guys in my comics was like the paramount art until I saw card art. It was like Joe Jusko said. I was like, oh, that's what I want to
You wanna
paint.
step
I want to
forward.
paint, which to make. I mean, cards are such a niche thing that most painted fantasy stuff is illustration, and so it's what it changed the course of my career. Kind of come back to the card thing is perfect. It's like my segue to comics, I think.
I'm not a collector myself. I have to confess this scene, like, and I'm not even that much of a comic book collector. Like I do have like thousands of comics, but I saw some really
Do you
serious
read them?
collection.
Do you read your comics?
That's my, yes,
That's a no.
every now and
That
then
sounded like a no.
I read it. These days, I gotta be honest, after working in, 10 hours, the last thing that I wanted to do is go and grab a comic and read another comic book, but I read a lot of that. A lot of you guys know that I'm a musician too. I'm a drummer, so every little spare time that I have, I'm just practicing, studying, and trying to get better. But I really do have very, very little time. But I had a different path then because my dad has been a painter. He's a painter his whole life, so I always want to be a painter. And I have to say, I have to give credit, of course, to Alex Ross, because I was into comic books, but when I first found out about Alex's work, I had the same reaction that you had with Joe, with Jasko, and I say, wow, that is exactly how I would love my comic book, my own artwork to look like. And so it was, right from the start, I knew that that was the path that I want to follow, and that's what I'm still doing. Though we were having this conversation, microphone off, that it's really very time consuming, like painting a full storyline, like 5-6 issues. It's just, if I have, and I will come back to comic books, to interiors, I will definitely use a different style and a different, more, definitely more easy, simpler and more geometric. Like, yeah, I'm thinking about Mike Mignola more than anybody else in this moment. Yeah, like going from one extreme to the other.
To the other.
My
Yeah.
alter ego was Mobius.
Yeah. Oh,
Just
yeah.
lies.
Yeah,
Exactly.
just lies.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
That's a good
yeah,
alter ego.
Exactly.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Please feel free to speak
my
up.
other passion is guitar, so
Yeah.
your drummer guitar when you come to Miami will jam.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I
that
know.
is too cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, music is a huge part, not just of me as a person, but as me as a creative human being. So every time that I study and I practice and I do a step forward in my drumming, I definitely find a way to bring what I just learned on the drum set back to my drawing table, and it goes, it goes back and forth. But of course, I'm getting paid to draw and paint, and I'm not getting paid, and I'm not getting paid yet to play
Play
drums.
drums. Yeah. Talk to Steve.
You never will. I don't either.
Now we got a question from the live audience.
All right, so I got a question for you, and this is what I've always been drawn to with Marvel cards is the act of storytelling, and both of you are so brilliant at including storytelling into these narratives, into these pieces, and they're full compositions. But I remember talking to Joe Jesco, and he was saying, "Well, I want to include every story in here." Bob Budiansky, who was the original creative director for Marvel cards, said the same thing, and I just wanted to hear from both of you. How did you go about injecting narrative and story into every character, because they're all done so beautifully, and you just really feel like the character's there, other than just the presence of seeing them?
For me, being a huge comic reader back then, of course, it was, I think, much easier trying to convey everything I read through my childhood and teenage into what I was doing, like Wolverine. Every time I draw or I paint Wolverine, for me, it's just a sum of everything I read, and now this is also everything I did with the characters, and it goes really naturally. I don't even have to think about it. It goes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I mean, it's just. And I said Wolverine, of course, because it's my favorite. I would say my favorite character Marvel-wise to paint. But again, I didn't think about, like, I didn't want to do something. I didn't think too much, I let whatever I read, whatever remained inside of me from what I read, I just let it out on the cards without thinking too much. Even though because I didn't have time enough to think too much, Like a lot of the cards that I think Dan would tell you the same. A lot of the cards, it was the first one is the right layout.
The first idea. Go with
Yeah,
the
the
first
first
idea. That was the piece of advice
like
I
in
got
the
from
studio,
Joe Jesco.
like in
Go
the
with
recording
first idea.
studio, first take,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, which is a great, to me, creativity practicing. Like there's no second chance.
Mhm.
You do whatever your skill and your mind is telling you to do.
I think injecting that story, like talking about the way you feel about Wolverine, you couldn't not inject your piece with
Yeah.
your entire life summation of this character. Whether you achieve that summation is maybe a different story, but
Yeah.
it's always like my idea of this character is always in there, unless I didn't know the character, which I don't think was. Did you paint anybody you didn't know?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have to be honest. Few of them I really have to go and see reference and not
That
reading
would be hard
story.
to capture a story.
Yes, definitely.
Maybe you can do the ones behind you guys. This is a small sample of the ones you did
Yeah.
from the set.
No.
Man, look at those. That
Yeah.
Electro is so good.
Yeah, thank
So
you, thank
good.
you
Like,
so much.
I remember seeing you posting that. I was like,
Yeah.
Electro's never been cool before. That's a
Yeah. I do love village.
Yeah.
Yeah. a
So,
lot.
so Dan, I remember when you were talking about your creative process, you wanted someone to be able to look at your painting and tell their kind of origin and
Yeah.
power set, like
That
all.
story was so important to me in the cards growing up. I knew all the characters in my set, but the sets I had growing up, I only really read X-Men. I didn't read a ton of Spider-Man and stuff. And so my knowledge of a lot of these characters came from these cards. That's why I loved the stats on the back. I was like, I could find out facts and their name and
Oh,
learn
yeah,
about the
sure.
characters.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted that a little with mine. I wanted to make sure, like, when somebody got this card, even if you don't know this person, you're like, who's this person? I can tell who they are. I can tell what they do, like, just by looking at this.
Well, Simone, I'll tell you, you'll never be like shamed, I don't think, in a Marvel card room for not reading comics, because most Marvel card collectors didn't read comics as a kid. They read the back of the card.
Yeah.
Like, that's where they learned a lot of what they know about the characters, and that's
But see, you just getting back to what I was saying, that you guys are just a community that simply doesn't exist in Italy.
Yeah.
You know, every comic book fan that I know, or Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, they knew the characters are out of the comic books or the movies. And there's no community who actually got familiar with these characters through cards.
Was
I'm
there
going to give you the
ever any
perfect.
Marvel set published in like in Italy? In Europe?
No.
yeah. Well, Panini has international cards, but the original art is not a thing.
No.
I don't believe.
No.
And
Yeah.
those are
The tarot card set, that's all original art, is Italian, it's beautiful.
That's from what? That's from like the 80s, right?
ah.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
recent?
No.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not. It's not reaching. So hey, real
But
quick.
yeah, I mean, and it's a shame. But another thing that really is striking me these days, that my kids is beautiful. My kids are learning the Marvel and DC characters as well from video games.
Yeah.
Much
Absolutely.
more than anything else,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Though I have to say, my older one, Sebastian, you learn his Marvel characters from video games. Now is into watching every single TV show and movies, and he knows everything. And now it starts to asking me about comic books. So, you know, it's nice. I mean, you get into, it doesn't matter where you start from.
Yeah.
But if the path is leading you to the actual final thing, the comic books, I think it's worth the trip.
Absolutely.
The
No.
journey.
It's great. It's a great
The
journey.
trip is I like it.
So we're surrounded by a ton of Marvel Masterpieces art in here and other trading card art, and your art's represented. But when it comes to a single card that you did in the set that either captured the story that you wanted to convey, or just the art that you really enjoyed about that, or the character itself, if you had to pick one for each of you, start with you, Dan. Which one would it be? Yeah, pick one of your kids. Yeah.
Captured a story.
Well, that either it told the story like you wanted to, or you
I
just
think Captain America.
Yeah.
It's like that one tells like not just a narrative but evokes an emotion like that. I think I actually, and I can't even maybe totally specify the emotion. Like it's maybe nostalgia, maybe pride, maybe duty or something. But whatever it is that was kind of feeling like, I feel like I got it in that piece for me when I look at it at least.
Yeah. Simone?
I don't know if you mean my favorite in general or the one capturing the story behind.
Tell us both.
Yeah.
Okay, the one that I think it captures the as Dan was saying, like the nature of the character is Namor, because he was dark and it's one of my favorite cards from the set. Other than that, I don't remember. There were so many. I can't even remember. Yeah, I gotta say, Electro was one of my favorite. But a lot of villains, like Kingpin. Kingpin, which is, is this gigantic face, and the hedge of the face goes outside of the paper edge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a big villain fan. I mean, I think it's funny to draw villains. I don't know.
Yeah,
There were
that's
so
awesome.
many.
Carnage.
Yeah.
Carnage.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you know what? I never been asked this question, which is pretty crazy. Which is your favorite card?
Really?
Yes.
Well,
First
so
time.
it's like for me, like it's moderating. I'm like, I don't want to ask the question he gets asked all the time.
Yes, you're right.
But let's hear it.
No, but like my favorite.
Yes, your absolute favorite.
Uh,
I've heard you talk lovingly about. Was it
I
multi-
got it. Loki. One of
Loki.
the two.
Oh,
the bigger one.
Yeah.
He really has with all due respect, and I'm
Oh, wait,
getting
the
on my
full
knees.
figure in the water?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
That
He has a
that's
very
a good
Frazetta-ish
look.
feeling.
The shape?
And Frank,
Perfect.
Frank is just
Perfect.
unobtainable. The more I do this work, the more I study and look up close Frank's work, and the more I understand, like how far he went. It was just pure talent, and so the only one that he has that kind of, because the thing that Frank was doing, he wasn't thinking. It was just a pure talent and through brush strokes. It was just shapes, No, it was just, and the crazy thing is, the more I see his work, and every time I see it, I can find something else that I didn't notice 2 years before. It's always brand new, fresh. Can you imagine a marble masterpiece set painted by Frank?
I've seen the prices that his original art sells for. So.
That's another story. Yeah.
It's incredible. So let's talk about the industry for a second. So what is it, masterpieces specifically, would you want to see happen for the next artist, whomever that may be, in their experience as being the Marvel masterpiece artist?
What do I want to see happen for them from a business?
From the industry, so it can be from a collector side or from the business side.
I just want another nice set. I want another nice set. I want give them more time so they can make it better.
Yes.
I want to make sure
Yeah.
they keep
Absolutely.
it original art so that there's nothing like digital art is fine. I do digital art, but there's something I like about knowing that these masterpiece cards
Yes.
are
It's important.
real things.
Yes.
I wish they would bring back the backs of the cards, character backs. I know they've never really had that much, but like.
The back of the card.
Yep, there's one there.
Oh,
We got an
nice.
example on the shirt.
What else? And I wish they were cheaper. I wish that I know the collectible. I think there should be 2 totally different sets, or make the rare things really rare, really special
Yeah.
art that's only
Yeah.
on those cards, a subset of this.
Yeah.
But the base 90 should be dirt cheap that
Yeah.
every kid can buy.
Yeah.
It should be
Yeah.
everywhere
Absolutely.
at a.
Yeah, we call it a retail release, not a hobby release. Yeah. It's important because if there's not great exposure at a young age, then
Yeah.
the future,
Yeah.
is
Though I
it's gonna
have
be
to
tough.
say, young kids, they still love cards. I'm not saying the
But
other.
they can't buy them. They're too
Yeah,
expensive.
no, you're right, but I'm not thinking about Marvel Masterpiece now.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking about, I don't know if I can mention another, it's Pokemon.
It's a safe room. Nobody's listening.
So my youngest one, Lorenzo, is obsessed with
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
And, but I'm definitely with that thing that they should be definitely cheaper just to enlarge.
Well,
the family.
Pokemon, I can literally go on any street and buy one. I mean, even from a gas
Exactly.
station. Like,
Yeah.
And these things getting clumped together, I get the appeal, and there's so many things that connect Pokemon and Marvel masterpieces. But and this, please don't take this as slander against Pokemon. Is anybody in 30 years going to be like, that Charizard story? Like,
Yeah.
like it's not. I don't know if it's the
Yeah,
like saying the
100%
characters matter
agree.
a little bit.
That's what
Well-
I'm asking my youngest one always. What are you doing with these cards? There's no store. There's no. Yeah, but we trade and the value. Yeah, but there's nothing behind that. But I mean, again,
no, I love that you said it because I think hearing it from you guys who created it and it exists and letting the audience hear like, no, we want this to be available
Yeah.
to as many as possible and to as young as possible is an important.
And
Yeah.
there's still some stuff that's accessible, but mostly it's accessibility. Yeah, they don't like I'm sure all of us stumbled across our first card set somewhere, like a point of purchase display as you're shopping with your mom or something,
Yeah.
and you're like, what
They
is
used to be
this?
like these cards here, 94. They
Well,
have
yeah.
them in Walmart's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Walmart's, I mean, how many boxes of Just Goes? Is it 250,000? Is that the right number? No, 350,000,
It
yeah,
shouldn't have to be sought out. It should be more placed, and Pokemon's probably a good
350,000.
introduction.
boxes.
Yeah.
Finding upper deck Marvel product in general out in the wild is like impossible. You know?
Yeah.
You really have to, there's very few upper deck retailers where you can go and actually find the product, so,
and there's none in Italy.
yeah.
Like
No.
0. It's
Yeah,
it's a
it's-
shame.
Yeah,
I know.
you're gonna make.
Yeah, it is.
I make one. Okay.
Do we have other questions from the audience? I just don't want anybody to get overlooked if you have a question.
Mark, by the way, first.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
so we got 7 more minutes, good. We got another question back here, go ahead.
What artist would you like to see do a set someday?
You.
I would, okay, I would definitely, look, I can give you 4 names, okay? So.
Oh, hold on, wait, I want to think of 4 names.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Like that
But
one.
I'm pretty sure one of these, but these are all gonna be like comic book guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
For all from comic book.
All right.
So the first one, of course, would be Alex Ross, hands down.
Yep.
And Alex work quality, it's got the same appeal to me like Frazetta. Every time I see some of that's just out of this world good. So Alex. Ezad Ribic,
Mhm.
yes. Ezad, who is a super close friend of mine, by the way, and a super funny guy too. I will love Gabriele Dell'Otto,
Yeah.
even though, I mean, it's Gabriele, so we're really, I love to see Gabriele, but I don't think it is, I mean, it is, I think it would be too much for him because he's one of those
Yeah.
guys who takes off every single weekend, and they should definitely give him more lead time.
Mhm.
And the last, but I'm gonna give you 2 more. Bill Sienkiewicz
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
and my dear friend Alex Maliv.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Did he say any of your 4?
A couple of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alex Ross would be great.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
do Alex Ross. I would say, and just thinking about it, I've been trying to guess who's the next one. I could see either Paulo Rivera
Oh, yeah,
killing
sure.
it.
What a
or
sweet guy,
Ariel
by the way.
Olivetti.
Very kind.
Ariel, Olivetti.
Ariel would do a really good job, I think, on
Yeah.
it. Except I would almost want to see his digital stuff, and I don't want digital on it, but
Yeah.
maybe Ariel. Eric Gist would be phenomenal.
Okay.
Who else would I want to see? Man, I would
Yeah.
want to see
What about
someone-
Brom?
Brom would be killer.
Oh.
That would be crazy. Except the Brom
Okay.
superheroes I want to see, you couldn't do for Marvel Masterpiece.
Yes,
And the same thing with
yes.
Gabriel Dell'Otto. I would love Gabriel Dell'Otto,
But-
but I wanted to rip up Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I wanted
yes,
to like
you're
show
right.
blood and
Right, and
everything.
you're
If I
and you're
had
talking about the restrictions that
Yeah.
exist.
Yes.
a
And
team
there are a
Brom
lot of
and a
them.
team Gabriel
Yes.
Dell'Otto's like
You're
taking
right.
a tiger out of the wild.
All right, we got a question from the audience. Oh, this one, and we get back to you, okay?
So for 95 masterpieces, we know they picked 4 artists and they split up the set. They each got to do the same thing. Each got to do Spider-Man, each got to do Wolverine. So what are your thoughts if that was revisited and say, look, you don't have to carry the full workload on your own. We're gonna give you
I
like.
like the single person set.
Yo,
How do
me
you-
too.
how do you like-
Me too. Much of these ones, you know,
Well,
too.
you know, I really like Boris and Julie, and I like the Hildebrand brothers, but I kind of think of them as one entity, anyways. Weirdly.
Yeah, let me be crystal clear about this. If Upper Deck should ever ask me to do it again, I will do it in a second.
Oh, wow.
Despite, yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Despite being a crazy amount of work and forcing me to giving up about a lot, I love to work out, swimming, running. It's just something that I need to do. Not only I love it, and I had to give up a lot of that during that, but I will still do it because in the end, it really gave a huge boost to my own. I don't like the word career, to my working life. So
But would you split it with another artist? They said you and one of the 5 you said, you guys are
Ooh,
gonna do
if you could do a set with anyone.
With
who-
anyone.
yeah, okay.
Oh.
The worst of them, of course. 'cause
Oh,
I don't do it.
Let's say Gabriele said, hey Simone, I'll do it, but I'm only gonna do half. Will you do the other half?
If it's Gabriele, it's like Justin. If it's him, if he is in, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I got it. I'll
No, I'm
take it.
kidding.
I'll do it with
yeah,
you.
but I mean, I would split with any of the artists that I mentioned, even though I'm sure I would look bad compared to some of them. Even though I have to say, yeah, as Dan said, I mean, it's such an honor, to do the whole thing that it's, if I really have to pour myself into that for 14 months of my life, I'd rather do it as quick as possible because I'm getting too old to do it, like when I'll be 60 or 65. Yeah, or maybe I will split with Dan. Yeah.
Ooh, that's quite the team.
Oh no, I mean actually that would be nice to have like a full set with me, Dan, Joe, and David.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
really good.
I'm thinking like, if I did split it with somebody, instead of 50-50, what if it was like Jim Lee pencils and me painting.
Wow.
Yeah,
that would be great too.
Wow,
Yeah.
that would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Well, I think what, I want to say, and I'm going to say it on behalf of the audience too, is like, we're really grateful for what we have from you guys.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. There's a reason why the hobby has just felt a lift from the work that you guys have done and the effort that you put into it. And we want to see more. Like, we would love to continue to see you guys.
You keep buying, we keep painting.
Okay. Well, tell Dan that, because all right, good. Well, if there's not any other questions, oh, wait, no, we have a question in the back. I'm so sorry, Julia.
Actually, you kind of like, you already said the question I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Is there like a possibility of having everyone that did Marvel masterpieces in one set?
I guess there's always a possibility. We don't
Yeah,
know
but
anything,
we
like,
need,
we're
I
always
mean,
going in the
we
dark.
should ask Upper Deck, and like, I would be definitely.
I would
honored.
do, if it was, how many, you'd have one Hildebrandt, you'd have Justo
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
The
Hildebrandt,
workload
yeah,
split
sure.
against like 8 people, that's only like
Yeah,
10,
10, 15.
15 cards, I would do that.
Yeah.
I would do
It
that,
would,
okay.
and you know what?
I would do that in gigantic size, like
Yeah.
15 gigantic. And just to for two reasons, of course. First of all, I like to see how they would look like in a much reduced size.
Right, so we can really appreciate your art.
And
yeah,
the second
on
one,
card.
original artwork sales. Of
Yeah.
course.
Well, and if they did that and then put that in retail stores and made it really available, the range of people who would enjoy the artists they already know and love, and the people who would be exposed to those artists and new art would be really amazing. I think that's a great idea if we could ever make that happen, Upper Deck.
We'll talk to Upper Deck. about
Yeah.
it.
Well, look, first of all, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having
for-
me and us. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really an honor. I want to say thank you to Bill and Maureen for allowing us to really showcase Marvel cards here at the Original Art Expo. Thanks to Jose and Steve. This is primarily their paintings here. Look, I hope we get to do more stuff with you guys later. I think we will, actually. I think that's pretty sure. So be sure to be following these guys on Instagram if you're not. I'm sure you are, but DeSantos Art?
Dan DeSantos _art, Dan DeSantos art. I have
Something
no
like
idea.
that.
Google my name.
Simone,
Simone
Bianchi.
Bianchi Art.
Yeah,
on
Bianchi
Instagram.
Art, yeah.
Please do. If you don't, it's a shame.
All right, everybody, thank you for watching. And as always, have a marvelous day.
So we got a couple more guys on my head.
I know.
Oh, you didn't?